Good morning. I hope you guys are doing well. This is an African reaction. So, I'm sure a lot of you have been noticing that I have not been doing the video consistently. It has nothing to do with me. It's just that my equipment has been very faulty. My screen got pixelated, and all my communication equipment has become being faulty for the last 2 or 3 months. So, today I was able to completely fix the problem, and I'm so glad. So, today I'm going to be reacting to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So, and after we go, I'm going to be reacting to the map that displays and shows the advance of the Russian and the Ukrainian since the beginning of the conflict. And then after that, I'm just going to tell you how I feel about the war. It's something I've discussed and I've been thinking about thoroughly just to make sure that I'm on the right path. So, that was that. Let's dive right back into it. Let's go. So that's before the war started. That's Kiev right there. In the news, a lot of people say that the Russian army is damaged, that the Russian army is not efficient, that they are not superpowered. They said a lot of interesting things, but we have to remember that first of all, there is no way you can start a war and expect a rapid offensive in none of this. And the second thing, the Russians have showed a lot of restraint. Is now that they are going on the offensive really. My personal ability, they showed a lot of restraint. Now the third thing is this. Now we have something to consider. We have the Ukrainian army. The Ukrainian army has an advantage of the Russian army. They know the land. They have advanced equipment that was donated to them by NATO, and they had time to prepare. Now, when you think of America, for example, America, when they invaded Iraq, only 15% of the Iraqi army fought. Now they are facing 100% of the Ukrainian army might. So it's not going to be something that is going to be easily that is going to happen easily. Now the second thing that is also that we have to keep that is very important is just this. The last time the Russian army had like a high intensity conflict where they had to fully invade and occupy a nation. I think that was in what probably 1999 and 2001 between the second Chechen war to be pretty much. So that's, I think, in my personal opinion, if you know more, let me know. That's when the last time the Russia had to effectively occupy a nation. So we have this to do. So I'm gonna give more on what I believe, but to go in what I have to say at the end is Slav versus Slav is the saddest part of it. And I'm not gonna blame Russia. I'm not gonna blame Ukraine. Let's go. Wow. Oh, they took Chernobyl. we can basically say base. So I can say basically from the eighth and the ninth, I think there was a stall in the north, and there was massive progression in the south. I don't know why there's massive progression. Well, I'm not. I don't have access to viable information to understand why there's a notable progression in the south. But I noticed that there was a stallment in the north and also around the distant around the area. So a lot of people are saying the Russian army having a logistical problem. They send a lot of conscript to fight in the war and all of that stuff. And I do believe that if the Russian army and the Russian general were planning a war, you cannot send conscripts to go fight a war. You send professional troops. Probably it was just probably Russia testing itself. There's a lot of reason. Now, my personal opinion on the war, we all know that everybody keeps the world is Russia, Russia, Russia. But I'm just like, did anybody read the story? Did anybody ever understood the story on both sides of the Ukrainian and the Russian? The Ukrainian have always been a nation where other people have to decide their fate. Now, Russia and NATO have an agreement that they were never gonna pass by a certain line in the sand, which is Russia was like, don't come around my area of influence, and NATO was like, that's fine in the 90s, and then well, out of nowhere, brrr, there was this rapid expansion, and now the problem is that NATO is straight at the gate of Russia, and the Russians are like, we are not going to let it happen. Why? Because Ukraine is very vital to Russia. Ukraine is basically flat land, and Ukraine has a lot of field for agriculture. And the problem with that is this: there is invaders have because I've paid attention. Invaders have always used Ukraine to figure a way to invade Russia, and at the point where we are now, Russia has no other choice than to invade Ukraine from stopping Ukraine from becoming a NATO country. And the problem is this: Ukrainians are very tough people because if you study their story, they had to fight, 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 and choose side, fight, 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 and choose side. And it has always been really hard for them to consolidate an entity as a nation. I think 1990 after the collapse of the Soviet Union, I think that is the first major big opportunity that they have to become like a great nation, like a nation by themselves. And I truly understood because we have to be honest, the Ukrainians are fighting, they are really fighting hard for their nation. But the problem is like I think that some of the estimate because they estimate Russia has lost 12,000 soldiers. I don't believe that's true. I genuinely do not believe that you can lose 12,000 soldiers in what 2 weeks. This is not this is not Chechnya. We need to stop lying and bring out the real numbers. I don't know who's lying, who's telling the truth. But my personal take is this: I believe it's really sad that the Slavs are fighting each other on the behalf of the Western civilization and on the behalf of NATO. But the saddest part, if there's so many I have to blame for all of these things, is this guy Zelensky. Everybody keeps saying, "Oh, he's the best. He's best." Everybody knows Ukraine is not a match for Russia, and the problem is this: Russia is going to achieve its goal. Either, my personal opinion, is either they're going to take half of the country and consolidate and have like a what you call the name. I'm so sorry. I keep forgetting the name. It was in my mind and it just slipped right now. Is that what you're gonna find a buffer zone exactly? The word kept coming to my mind was what you call a zone tampon, but that was in French. A buffer zone. Either the Russian are gonna have build a buffer zone, or the Russian are gonna take over the whole of Ukraine. Now, with the Russian taking over the whole of Ukraine, we all play Call of Duty. It's not gonna go as easy as the plan because the Ukrainian are gonna fight back, and NATO is gonna take all of these and send in troops and all of that stuff. Now, if okay, we are done. Now here comes the second part. If Russia were to stop right at this line, right, after taking Kiev and controlling half of the country, and then leaving the pro-Western area under the control of the Western distant, is much of the rest of Ukraine won't be there will not be anything else left because all that's my personal opinion. I don't genuinely know a lot about the Ukrainian economy, but I can say that most of the agriculture and what the nation needs to do whatever it has to do is located on the eastern side. I genuinely don't know how the western side is gonna survive, but NATO is gonna find a way. Now, when it comes to NATO, the greatest mistake NATO has done was NATO should have taken the time to make sure that Ukraine was in a position where she didn't have to side with anybody. She was just like non-aligned, and she was a neutral area. And the problem is, I think Ukraine would have probably benefited if it was state neutral, because the greatest mistake of their nation as Ukraine is like they like the basic explanation is they were in a very tough neighborhood. That's my personal understanding. Ukraine found themselves in what you call a very tough neighborhood. That's all I can genuinely say about that. They're in a very tough neighborhood, and they're surrounded by tough neighbors, and that is really, really sad. And this nation is being used as a pawn. But my fear is President Zelensky, he's being played as an actor, because remember, he was a comedian, and it's well known and well documented that actors make good acting president. Why? Because they can act. But the problem is, like, there's one thing I've paying attention is coming to it. I'm like, Russia is mighty, Russia is big. The Russians have not even involved half of their army, not even a vast majority of the equipment. It's not even right now. I just believe that Russia just sent some troops in just to see, to test out the real ground. The next week and the next month will now show the ferocity and the pounding power of the Russian army. And I'm like, if the Russian army was to go on the full offensive with all her might, what will be left of Ukraine? That's the question. Let me know what you think about it. And I'm back, and I'm so happy. You can see my screen is not depixelated. The quality of the image is better. I'm genuinely really glad about that. Thank you. This was an African reaction. Hope to see you on my channel next time, and see you. Bye. Thank you.